welcome to the stage our panel for success this afternoon with a big round of applause. Come on out, guys.
I'm going to take this chair.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a beautiful group of people.
Why, thank you.
Oh, yes. I had them switch the chair over. That was my bad side for sure. Welcome. Thanks for being here, guys. I want to quickly, I know your titles and names are behind, but maybe people in the back can't read them and don't know you. Make this personal. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? We'll start on this end and what you do, what your title is, and just kind of go down the line. So go ahead and start off with you.
My name is Vanessa Toulson, and I own the Diet Doc Twin Falls, and I help people find their awesome.
There you go.
I'm Chris Jones with Plant Therapy.
Wonderful.
I'm Mason Harper with New View Glass, but I really feel like after Sherry's last thing, I should be telling you something like, I help the world look more clearly through windows or something. I feel like there's something in there.
You give people more clear view of their future.
I like it.
Wonderful. Awesome. Right here at the end.
I'm Kristen Quigley. I'm the owner of Unique Twist Jewelry, and I encourage self-love and confidence in women.
Absolutely. We're all about that.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Thanks so much for taking the time to be here. You guys are our success panel. You guys are the definition of success. How does that feel? That's amazing, right? No, but we truly, obviously, we recognize that success isn't maybe as linear or ideal or maybe as simple as we might make it out to be, right? Often we have a fairy tale example of this is what success looks like, or this is what success is, and it might be maybe personal. For me, what could be success isn't maybe what you would define as success. So what we're going to start off with, and this is the question I'm going to lead with, and then after this question is over, I'd love it if you guys have questions. This can be about anything. This can be like, hey, what are one of the key things you've done? How have you stayed successful? What's one of the biggest game-changing moves? Whatever your question is, just fire them away. These guys are incredible. They'll be able to handle it. But I'm going to have you guys line up, kind of see where that first row is over there. So as soon as they're done with this first question, feel free to line up and make sure you're thinking about your questions during this time. So my first question to you guys, I'm going to lead this off so they can have a moment to think, is what is one thing that you do you think helps you be successful? And we don't have to go in any particular order. You guys just kind of fill it out. And whenever you feel comfortable, jump right in.
I can jump in.
Okay.
I think something that I do is I unmedicate my ADD. So a lot of people talk about, being not able to focus is a distraction, and you can't, get things done if you don't control these random thoughts. But I feel like as a business owner, that's actually a blessing because you're able to see everything from the top down and you can focus on a million things at once. So I just let it run rapid.
Yeah. Well, so
some people might say I have ADHD, but either way.
Yeah, I get that too, all the time. Anyway.
Yeah, huh?
No, but for real, so talk to me about what did you do to make that a profitable tool for yourself? Because you're right, a lot of people could say that is a detriment, not a help. So how did you let your personality and who you truly are become a tool instead of a hindrance?
Well, I think the first person that said to me, like, you're focusing on too many things, and that was considered a negative in the beginning, but towards, the first business that I started, it was more like, well, how do you focus on so many things at once? And I started to realize, like, this isn't a problem, it's actually a benefit. So if, small business owners like myself, we do it all. We're the accountant, we're the janitor, we're the, administrative assistant, we're the HR. So I just let myself focus on all of those things, and I don't beat myself up if one task stays slightly not completed for a minute, as long as everything gets wrapped up in the end.
Yeah, I feel like that's a trait that probably you guys can all speak to, is the idea that as a leader, you don't wear usually a single hat, especially at the beginning. You're wearing all the hats. And hopefully as an HR department, you've given yourself a chance to vent to yourself and really speak about how angry you made yourself this week and give yourself that place as well. But that's a great answer. So thank you for sharing that. What else, guys? What are some ways?
I would say that what has started me off is just being authentic, being true to myself and not conforming to what other business people thought I should do or other people thought I should be, or fitting inside of a box. I kind of created my own lane, and I stay over there in my weird awkwardness, and it's kept me in people's perspective because they really appreciate that I'm just a normal person. I'm just a person really trying to cultivate a relationship with my customers and my just like someone said earlier, they're not necessarily my customers. That feels so weird. And that probably resonates with all of us, is they turn into your family and your friends, and people come and hug you. And I just think that being authentic and true to myself has been what kind of launched me into my success.
Yeah. Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
So part of what you brought up, and you both have kind of mentioned this a little bit, is that authenticity is a big part of your success, is owning your authenticity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So were there parts of your authenticity that you felt you wanted to hide in order to be successful originally?
Oh, of course, because I create a line that is edgy and break the mold.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the quotes that I use to encourage women's badassery is
I love that you have like a term for it too. That's amazing.
Is
that a trademark?
Yeah, it might as well be. But it is. It's different, and a lot of quotes and lines and jewelry out there is just more like live, laugh, love, and mine, which there's nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
I break out of that. I shatter that and want it to be more like wake up and kick ass and repeat.
Yeah.
I guess that is probably out of the norm, just because people want you to stay in a box and want you to, like someone else said, stay in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
But who created the box and why is there a lane?
Yeah. That's great. What gave you the confidence to feel like you could get out of that lane that was created for you?
Well, I created my own confidence, and
That's good.
And it was my husband and I did a very first event, a local event called Vintage Vixens. I set up a little booth and I had my jewelry, and the very first night I sold out. It's like in like 4 hours, because I put do epic shit and badass on a necklace, not realizing that would resonate with so many other women. And it just kind of launched me into creating more and more and more.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I realize I'll repeat the question because I realize I've taken some time here, but what is one thing you think that you do that helps you be successful? Gentlemen, what do you guys think?
I think there's a really good theme here, being authentic. The first thing that came to my mind was I'm a very positive person. Anybody that's interacted with me knows me. I'm happy. I want to be positive. And there are so many times working with an individual or working with just one of our staff, if something goes wrong, I think Sean said it a little bit earlier, maybe it was a Tina Fey, but if there's a problem, don't look at that as a problem, look at it as an opportunity. And I say that a lot at the shop. They say, Mason, we've got a problem. No. We've got an opportunity. How do we turn this thing around? I'm very positive, and I think that's helped me personally trudge through a lot of different things. I don't see a lot of negativity in things. I always try to find a silver lining, and that positivity has helped me personally.
That's wonderful. And I think that's one of those things where in some ways you might have to coach yourself on it. Do you always feel positive, or do you ever have to encourage yourself?
I think it's a blessing. I truly am a positive person. I'm always looking for that next thing, and you're probably right. It's probably a little bit of my nature as well, and I hope that I rub that off on my kids. I mean, it is a constant thing with them, but I am seeing them even get to that point, and even at people that I work with, they do look for solutions a little bit differently than here's a problem. No, we're looking for an opportunity.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Chris, what about you, man? What do you think?
I think there's lots of things. I also am diagnosed ADD and purposely choose not to medicate it, and which is a negative thing for some people around me, but can be a positive thing also. I purposely stay naive about how things should work in the business world and try to ignore some of that stuff and try to follow our own path. But by far, the number one thing is surround myself with people that cause me to level up, and surround myself with people who I think are smarter than me in areas that I lack, and try to convince them to join our team, and then collectively we become better.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've been talking about community a lot today. Can I press a little bit further on that? I'd love to just know, what is one way that you find yourself surrounding yourself with people who you would say maybe excel in certain areas beyond even your own ability, without feeling like maybe I can just speak to my own security in this. I think sometimes I want to surround myself with people who are the best, but I don't feel like I deserve the best, or maybe that I have to be better than them before they'll finally let me be a part of them. So how do you surround yourself, or how do you build reputation and colleagues and even employees who you're not settling for mediocrity and you're always surrounding and finding ways to surround yourself with the best? What is a trick to surrounding yourself with the best?
I think believing in people and sharing with them a vision. So our goal at Plant Therapy is to positively impact as many lives as possible. So in the beginning, that was like very external. How can we increase our charitable giving, things like that, which is still a big focus for us. But then it also became internal. How can I positively impact the people who are directly in my circle so that they can feel awesome and then impact the people in their circle and move out from that way. So I think it's just being authentic, and not everybody wants to join our team. We're not a great fit for everybody, but for those that do and who we are a good fit for, it can be really great.
Yeah. One of the things, and if I'm mishearing you, please feel free to correct. One of the things I feel like I'm hearing from you is that you're adding value. Even if you don't feel like you're the most whatever in a certain thing, you're always choosing to add value to people around you. And I think that when I see great leaders, and you guys obviously exemplify this, but one of the things I love about leadership is when people don't look at what someone can give to them, but what they can be to them, right? So for example, I would say to Kristen, like, man, Kristen, if you're on my team, my goal isn't to figure out how much you can do for me, but how I can equip and empower you to do the best that you can do in your field. And I think you guys obviously demonstrate that by pouring into the people around you. So thank you for that. Those are some incredible answers, but we would also love to hear maybe even your guys' questions. So if you have any questions, feel free. We would love, raise your hand or come down. We got a mic over here. It's open mic time. You get to grill them with all the things that you've been holding in all day. Any questions or thoughts? Even if you want to just raise up a hand. Yes, perfect. Thank you for taking a step of faith.
Quick question. So I just want you to envision the iceberg with success on the top and all the attributes that come below that. So there's stress, fear, sacrifice, long hours, all those type of things that you've all gone through. So I want to know, because early on in business, sometimes you just feel like you're spinning your wheels, like you're listening to these people, you're spinning your wheels, you think you're getting somewhere. When did you feel like you've gotten traction and kind of seen a shift, a mindset shift, or a shift in your business? And then what habits kind of attributed to that?
That's a great question. Do you guys get to hear that okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so what are some thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that all of us up here are standing on a pile of failure. We have failed and failed and failed, but we still get up every single day and give it our best. We don't let somebody else tell us that we're not doing it right, or even ourselves tell us that we're failing. Failure is for the birds. You just got to keep trying and trying again. I feel like as a true entrepreneur, you're not going to give up. And surrounding yourself with great people and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, you're going to keep getting up and keep getting better. And after a while, just start seeing the successes pile up, because success looks different, I think, for all of us.
Mm-hmm. So basically you're saying is, man, the only way that iceberg gets out of the water is you got to build a ton of things under the water that are failure.
Of course.
Before you ever expect to make it float, you got to be willing to fail 1,000 times before you get out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. What are some other thoughts?
Well, I think literally my business took a turn. When I first started, it was just me. So I have a wellness company, and I help people with weight loss or sports performance. I did bodybuilding competitions and prep for a really long time. And so it was just me, and I was the one coach, and I had to be the one that touched everyone and taught everything. And because of that, it was very limiting. And everyone just kept trying to tell me, you've got to branch out, you've got to replicate yourself. And I just couldn't. I couldn't let go of my baby. I couldn't let someone else be the voice of my business. But when I finally did, and I trusted that I could teach others to coach and to be my voice, I had an absolute change in my business. So literally, doubled my income pretty much as soon as that decision was made. Now, the time investment is scary because I had to first say, I have to take the time out of my business and I have to train these people. But beyond that, I was giving clients away to those people. And so I had to trust that it would grow and it would build. And that was a super scary thing. I felt like I was actually sinking on the Titanic. And the second that I thought, I should just take this all back. I should take it all back in. The growth happened and beautiful things have happened. And it's been great.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm hearing you say is that your thing for success, when you felt like your iceberg, so to speak, kind of came up out of the water, was when you finally allowed yourself to be trusting in an area of duplication in your own life and in your own job and occupation.
Yeah.
What is one way you felt you were able, or what is one trick you would maybe be willing to share that you could say, this is how I multiplied myself and was able to trust people?
Well, I think the first thing is, we talked all day about getting a coach, someone to tell you what to do. I've been lucky enough to have mentors in my life like Chris and other people that have said, you can do this, but it's scary. So the first thing that I had to do is I had to ask other individuals that were like me, how did you do this? How did you create, how did you have your first employee? What did you do? But more than that, ask them how they screwed up first. Because I screwed up so bad in the beginning. And when people come to me now in my profession, they say, well, what should you not do? I feel like that's the best advice that I wish I would have had. Like, don't not have them sign a non-compete. Like, legal questions and things that you don't think of. So I would say, ask the questions, find out where people failed, and trust your gut, trust that you can be the best. The other thing is, just like they were talking about the pie being big, I've had coaches that I've trained and led out into the universe, and then they stopped working for me and tried to open their own businesses with, what I had. And how many of you think that? Like, well, I can't teach so-and-so how to do this, then they can go out and do it. Nobody's like you. So as long as you have the most passion and you are the most in love with what you do and you have that reason behind it, no one is going to replicate you. So don't fear that. Just grow so that you can help more people.
Yeah, I love the idea of being just as interested in why people failed as you are in the why they succeeded.
Right.
Because ultimately we all recognize, like you said earlier, your business isn't going to always be built on successes. Like, that'll be what grows it, but maybe it's on a foundation of what didn't work is what produced what did, right? That's great. Thank you, guys. Other thoughts?
Yeah, for me, so I know we're talking about business success today, but that's, there's obviously all different kinds of success, right? And it's very much like juggling, where you're trying to keep everything in the air at the same time. And, in 2019, I took over 100 flights that year, and then COVID happened in 2020. Well, so I've been traveling for work before that, but 2019 was an exceptional amount of travel. And then my wife said, like, we're actually getting good at this without you being here. My kids started not noticing when I was gone. I could leave for like 2 or 3 days and they didn't even know I was gone. So then I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then COVID happened and forced me to stay home. And then now my daughter every morning says, why do you have to go to work today? Like, why are you, it's summertime. You shouldn't have to go to work, right? We're out of school. You should be out of work, right? And so
I love that
all
idea.
of that. Yeah, me too. It's all of that. It's just juggling. So you keep one ball in the air over here, and then you realize these ones are falling down, and you try to run back and forth. And business is like a baby. When it's crying, you have to go, no matter what's happening. So success is very difficult to talk about. I mean, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. And I think that mostly when you're talking about success, you can look back on it and see it as success instead of like, I'm not a big planner, and it's very much just like, we're doing whatever looks like we should be doing today and try to get a little bit better each day. And then you can look back and say, oh yeah, what we did turned out to be really successful over that period of time. But it's hard to plan for it. It's more of you just keep trying to get a little bit better, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, interesting, we were successful.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? You brought up juggling. What are some ways that you've found how to juggle things in your life? Because, you've got a successful business, you're traveling a lot, you've got a family, obviously, you mentioned. I think one thing that every single person in here probably has to wrestle with in some way, shape, or form is how to juggle their responsibilities, whether that's a family, or if they don't have a family, whether that's the different hats they wear as an entrepreneur or a leader. So what are some ways that you feel like you juggle things in your life or have learned to juggle things in your life?
For me, I think it's that pie chart too, where you can say, I thought that being successful was going to take just hard work. And what I realized is being successful takes exercise and like doing yoga. And that helps me get in a more, mental state of mind to be more successful at work. Or going on a walk in the middle of the day, or, date night with my wife on the weekend, something like that. So I think also realizing like nothing matters really. And really none of it is all that important. Just try to be a little bit better, be kind. And then in the end, you'll look back and be like, oh, that worked out all right.
So holistic health is part of what success looks like then. Like if you can find that you're healthy in your family life and you're just enjoying time with your wife and you're enjoying your business, that's how you juggle. You just look for ways to enjoy the things you're doing.
Yeah,
and grow on that.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to be successful in work on being successful in your relationships, work on being successful in your mental health and your physical health, and read books and go to summits. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's so easy for us to get caught up in the idea, and we even brought this up in the earlier panel, that the only key to success is harder work or more work. And that's an element of it. Like you guys are obvious examples of hard work, right? You guys would never, I'm sure, say that success was easy or that it just came to you in like a magical fairy box that was wonderful and easy to open, right? But I think at the same time, you can attribute the longevity of success is going to be built upon not just having success in one area of your life, but feeling healthy in others is what's going to bring success to each area of your life. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. What about you, man?
There are some themes that are very, very similar, but lately, and my business is a little bit different. My grandfather started the business in 1957. My dad took over in 88, and my brother and I are now kind of taking that third generation step. I don't quote windows and quote glass like I did 5 years ago. I work almost all my time in developing people. This morning, the morning meeting, I'm talking to people saying, okay, what are we doing today? What happened yesterday? There was a review here. How can we make that review better? So I feel like I am constantly developing, and that's different. That has been a transition over the past 5 to 10 years. But I see that I'm in that people side a lot more than cutting glass and installing windows. I know how to do that. I've done that. I know that part of the business, but I don't do that like I did before. That's just part of that transition into the next step. So development's been huge.
Yeah. Would you say that, so I think even kind of tagging back into the question a little bit, that multiplying your efforts into the people that work with you was kind of a key area that you would identify as like, man, this is an area that I'm feeling successful. This is a space where I'm seeing monumental leaps forward in my not just your company, but in your own personal health and all that other stuff?
Has to be. Yeah. Absolutely. Because that health, in whatever form you find that health in, it will sustain you, and or it'll tear you down if you neglect it.
That's great. Thank you so much, guys. Those were awesome answers. What other questions do you guys have? Any other thoughts? We need brave volunteers. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Just a segue from the last question is, once you start experiencing success, how do you move from that point of just being in the business to working on the business? And how do you kind of spend your time so you're not just head down all the time versus being head up? And any insight on that?
Yeah. How do you guys, I think kind of, if I'm understanding correctly, and correct me if I'm not, sir, but kind of how do you find a way to go from just being in your work all the time to being in the world around you a little bit too?
For sure. And building your team and growing.
Yeah. It's great.
I can start.
You should start.
What a great confident check in. Like you
Chris
should.
and I have a history.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're great friends. my thing is hire great people. As soon as you can afford to hire somebody to replace your tasks, like I have very few to-do list. I don't have tasks at work that are my job, just like Mason was talking about. He's no longer cutting glass, right, or quoting windows. I'm sure that if something came up and he needed something right now, he could go take care of that. And I'm not filling bottles of essential oil very often. And I think that's what it is. Like the second you can afford to hire somebody, even if you can't quite afford to hire them, and hire the best person that you can.
Yeah. One thing that I hear a lot, and I'd want to even ask a follow-up into that, hiring excellent people takes time, right? Boy. So how do you have the patience to wait it out for the right people? What are some tips that you would give to say, man, this is what I've seen in my own life when I've hired short or fast, and this is some ways that I've seen success in waiting for the right person. And how did you do that?
For me, well, first of all, you just have to try. You don't know if somebody's going to work out, especially if you're just looking off of a resume. One of my greatest talents is a gut instinct for people. I think I can, within a few seconds or a few minutes of interviewing somebody, I normally know if they're going to be a good fit. And it isn't based on what's on their resume. It's based on how I think they'll fit into our culture and who they are as people. And then on the flip side of that, you just have to hold out. Sometimes we have a position that needs filled and we just don't fill it, and we just hold out.
Yeah.
Sometimes he just tells someone he wants them to work for him and doesn't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I hired Vanessa. I don't know if you picked that up.
So this is really just like a therapy session. We all just get to be a part of it.
I figured we'd make it interactive, you guys. I thought we could talk to each other too.
Anyway, welcome to Dr. Phil. We're so glad that you joined us today. It's going to be a good day. I hear plant therapy is going to be putting some essential oils on our good friend Vanessa.
That's right.
I'm just kidding, to see if we can calm her aura down a little bit. I'm just kidding.
Many have tried.
We've tried. That's awesome. So that's great. Yeah, taking the time to hire the right people, because if you can't duplicate yourself, you will always be in it, and you'll never be able to actually rise above and continue to duplicate yourself. Because once you do it once, then the goal isn't to just keep it there, it's to keep doing it and to grow exponentially your vision, your culture. That's great.
And also, don't keep people that suck.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing them a favor by releasing them to go do something better.
Yeah.
You know, just like they were talking about that tulip, by plucking it out and planting it someplace else. I have a person on my team who reminds me of that. Like, you're doing them a favor by firing them. They may not see that today, but we don't think they're a good fit, they don't think they're a good fit either. And they know that, and they're probably not happy in their job. So what we're doing is just releasing them to go get a better job where they can really flourish.
Yeah, go find your culture. Go find your spot. That's such a good point. I think it's a great reminder to remember that, man, you're actually doing a disservice to people by keeping them in the wrong spot. You're not saving them because they still have a job. You're literally keeping and hindering them from the right position.
And everybody else around them. Everybody else knows they suck too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not happy.
That's wonderful. All right. Other thoughts on how you go from being in your work to getting your head up and looking around?
This is my phase right now. That question speaks to me, really. It's been really hard for me to not coach clients. So my tool was, I decided I would just take a few, because it is my passion, it is what I love to do. So I just take high-level clients who either refuse to work with someone else or want me to take all their money. I don't know what it is, but having the ability to say, I'm going to trust you and let you take care of this has been one of the hardest things that I've ever done. But it's freed me up to do things like this. Like, my staff is working today.
Yeah.
So it frees me up to go network and to go do those fun charity things that inevitably just fill your cup. And when you're happy, people see it. It frees me up to travel and to kind of spread the business a little bit. But it's 100% the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And I agree. As soon as I could afford it, I started hiring people that I felt were smarter than me, were more equipped at certain things than me, and it paid off. And in the beginning, sucked because they were making more than me. So, but I just trusted the process. And when the system starts replicating itself, it all comes back. But it's hard, very hard. And I think people don't talk about it. They're like, it's so great, I have employees. I'm like, no, it sucks. And I don't like it all the time. And I have females that work for me, and sometimes they don't always get along. And there's a lot to it, but it's transformed my business for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, even you being here right now, you're giving them an opportunity to lead in a way that they couldn't if you were there.
Yeah.
Like you're
By getting out of
empowering
their
them.
way?
Yeah. Well, no. Yes, that's my heart. No. Hopefully you catch my heart behind that, because I really think it is true. Like you're giving them opportunities, because if you were there doing what you're always doing, then they wouldn't have the opportunity to grow in those ways.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
That looks, I guess, a little different for me. Before COVID, I was traveling a lot like Chris, and I was doing these huge shows in Atlanta and Minneapolis and New York, and being gone from my family a lot. And so being able to, I've scaled back because it wasn't filling my cup. I was FaceTiming at my little boys' basketball games, and my family was the same, not even knowing when I was coming or going. I felt like I spent a lot more time on an airplane than I did in my own home. And so once COVID kind of started last year, it made me take a reality check and step back, and I no longer do those shows. I'm able to like breathe again, because I felt like I just worked so hard for those 2 years that I was gone a lot, that now I feel like I can look up and go to lunch with my friends and have a balance of work and life, because it is 1,000,000% a juggling. If you're not doing well at home, your business is not going to be successful. If you're not pouring into your team and into the people that you surround yourself with, then you're going to be having side effects in different areas. I guess for me, just being able to look up was scaling down a little bit, and it's been a blessing for me.
Yeah.
So
Would you say that, I mean, this is a question maybe to everybody, but would you say that the hardest part obviously was the beginning? Much like when you talk about a car off the line, it's going to burn the most fuel from 0 to whatever, however fast you're going, is that initial part of going from a stopping point, right? And so for you, the thing I'm hearing is like, hey, I did have to grind. My head was down in my work. And because I did that, and because I stuck to that, now I have the ability to look up a little bit and breathe and kind of work on juggling some of those things.
I mean, I started the business so I could spend more time with my family and be home and not work a 9 to 5. And then I just found myself like being gone and not even being around my family or my friends, missing important events and missing proms and basketball games and things that I really wanted to be there for. And so it was a different kind of like to be able to bring my head up, but it's also like, I mean, I've had my most successful year that I've ever had last year during a pandemic, because I was able to take a breath and not worry so much about being gone and being away. And I still went on vacations. Like, what the?
Yeah. Turns out, like, taking time to fill your cup up is a great idea.
It was great.
We should take that summer off, like you were bringing up. Everyone
happy.
in here, like, all the entrepreneurs, like, no. Don't you understand? No, don't worry. I'm joking. What about you, Mason?
So I like the question. I think it's, and I don't know if I have the perfect answer for it, but that whole thought of working on the business instead of working in it, it's a constant thing. It's something that I'm constantly working at, not trying to get out of the business, but the more we can work on it, it pays dividends. So in college, I read The E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth. Loved the book. I mean, I learned a lot of things in college, but that was a great business class reading E-Myth. And I've tried to take some of those principles in there. And hiring people that are smarter than you, that sounds great. And that's the goal, to get there. But it is a process, and it's a continual thing. I don't ever feel like I've arrived, because then there's another challenge or something else. So it's continually working on it. I wasn't here this morning, but that's what I was doing this morning. Is I was in an HR meeting trying to put some processes and procedures together that will help develop that team. So it's a constant thing. But I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Any other questions? These are good. Any other? Yes. Thank you so much.
So, as a business owner, we come through many challenges that sometimes make you want to go, I give, I'm done. When you come to those moments, how do you work yourself through them so you don't just walk away?
Yeah. That's great. How do you avoid burnout? Is that a fair way of putting it? How do you avoid coming to those walls and going, I quit, I give up, I'm done? What do you guys do?
I get some essential oils and I yoga.
And we go to yoga.
And you eat well.
Welcome to our ad for plant therapy. We're so glad you guys are here today. I'm just kidding.
It's right across the street. I took that question a tiny bit differently. Like, I've been in that position where, so I'm a single mom, and so for the last 9 years, I've actually balanced my business and another job because we all know small business perks are really crappy. The insurance benefits for small business is crap. It's non-existent. So having 2 small children, I always had a side hustle, and there were many times that I said to myself, why am I trying so hard on my business when I could go work for someone else who's going to do all the work and take care of me? And the answer has always been my kids, right? So I can choose to stop working and go to a baseball game, and I can choose to go to a parent-teacher conference in the middle of the day, and I can choose to work all night, and no one's going to tell me not to work overtime. No, so I think there's a certain personality that small business works best for. In fact, Chris Jones flat out told me once upon a time, I said, what should I do? Like, I'm between a rock and a hard place. And he's like, you should work for yourself. You should do what you're good at. He's like, I wouldn't work for somebody else. So I think it comes back to the pros and cons. It's hard, but every job is hard. Every job has that person you can't stand or that procedure you can't deal with. But at least in this role, when you are in control of your own business, you get to make the rules. You get to decide what's important. So the pros have always outweighed the cons, but my kiddos for sure.
Choose your hard.
Yeah.
That's great. Other thoughts?
I would agree with Vanessa.
We don't
nailed
we
it.
don't like to answer to bosses.
Choosing your heart. I mean, you're doing the business. Like for me, when I first started, I worked a 9 to 5 and did my side hustle until I could leave my 9 to 5. But you have to have your heart in knowing that you want your business to succeed. If you have the mindset that you're just like, I'm going to give up, I'm not going to do this, oh my gosh, this is hard. Like, change your mindset, change the way that you're talking to yourself. I think somebody talked about affirmations earlier. I mean, I don't think it really ever crosses my mind to give up, ever. That's just not in me to throw my hands up. I mean, it's in me to just figure out how I can be better and balance my life better and take care of my family better. I mean, she nailed it. Just my kids are the most important thing to me, and I want to be there for those things, and I can't do that working for someone else.
Yeah, I think one of the things we even brought up earlier is not allowing certain verbs to be a part or words to be a part of your vocabulary, right? If quit isn't an option, then what is? All right, so I've determined for myself, I can't quit. My family, my kids, this pattern of my life, this passion that I feel is the most important. So quitting isn't an option. I want to, but I'm not even going to go there. So what's the next thing? How do I figure out the other option? And it's a great reminder for us all. Yeah. Other thoughts? What do you guys do when you hit the wall of wanting to quit?
I think we're all going to hit it. And if we don't, then we do have to check it because it's almost like there's a belief in ourselves that we keep going. And whether we've got to put in that extra time, the reason why we're doing that and why we do push ourselves is because we do have a belief that and a challenge, that this is a challenge, that you want to make it past this. You know that it's not always going to be like this. So there are times when you might be putting in a lot more hours than you were planning on. We don't have a 9 to 5 job when you're a business owner. You just don't. if it was that way, everybody would own their own business. It's not that way, but there's a challenge and there's a belief that keeps me going. But yes, we all hit that wall. It's just persevering and pushing through it.
Yeah, I mean, we hit it over and over.
Yeah.
It doesn't like, here's a wall and we hit it and move past. It's
Right.
like, there's a wall,
Still there.
there's another one,
Yeah.
there's another one. And I think that each time it's something different, maybe. And owning a business is not for everybody, and it shouldn't be. And there's pros and cons to it. For some people, the pros outweigh the cons, and for some people, they don't. And some people want to go home at 5 or 6 o'clock and not think about it. And that doesn't work when you own a business.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, guys. Next question. You're good. We'll get it going here in a second.
It's obvious that all of your hearts are in what you do, but have any of you ever suffered from imposter syndrome?
Every single day.
Maybe I need clarification on what imposter syndrome is.
It's just feeling like I'm going to be found out as a fraud. Like, I'm not this.
You mean every time I go to Dairy Queen?
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. It happens.
Okay, so you got to share what's your order. If you don't want to be a fraud, let's be honest. What's your order?
I get an Oreo Blizzard every
Oreo
time.
Blizzard?
And hopefully it's the Blizzard of the month, so I get the bigger one without having to ask for it.
This seems like a procedure you've gone through maybe more than one time.
Do you guys know how embarrassing it is to go through the Dairy Queen drive-thru in the Diet Doc car? I literally have it on my license plate. People
That's
are like
awesome.
honking, like, why are you even here? But
Because I'm real.
Because I enjoy life too, and just like drive through.
Hey, hashtag I teach balance.
Yeah.
I also really like donut holes, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I would love to talk about donut
Yeah.
holes.
Back to you, Chris.
I know it kind of sounds like a joke, and it is. I mean, you have to find balance, but imposter syndrome is a real thing that is like a very real thing in my life, and I think that it should be talked about more because, I constantly feel like that I have imposter syndrome, and this isn't like, I have like this charmed life that's just, I sometimes have to pinch myself, like, am I actually living this life? This is bizarre to me. But I still feel like, I barely graduated high school. I failed college, basically. I've never really worked for anybody else, and you can look at like some areas of my life and say it looks successful. It's like cleaning your house, right? You kind of show people what you want to show, but it is like, it's a kind of a mental health thing, but it also just like, really nobody knows what they're doing. Just like I said, nothing matters. It really doesn't, and really nobody knows what they're doing. When it comes to like being a parent, religion, your business, like nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's doing the best that they can. So everybody's an imposter when it comes to that. But, it's just like, it all comes down to authenticity and like, okay, yeah. Maybe it's not that cool, but this is who we are. And we're just going to keep doing what we do,
Yeah, so 2 thoughts. Yeah, that's great. You can go for it. So 2 quick thoughts I had on that. First of all, you talk about nobody is perfect. Everyone's figuring it out. So how do you allow yourself to have grace for yourself, right? Because if you don't know and you feel like an imposter, then it's easy to just get to that place like, well, I'm not what other people think I am. There you go. I'm a professional speaker, and I obviously can't talk very well. But how do you give yourself the grace for the areas you feel an imposter in? And the second thing is how do you allow yourself to believe the positive words of affirmation that people around you say? Because when you deal with imposter syndrome, it doesn't always mean that you don't have compliments coming your way, right? Because I'm sure you guys have had people like, oh, your life is great. You're crushing it. Way to go. Like, I just wish I had what you have. Things like that. And you're like, yeah, but do you want to do what I did? Those moments of just feeling all of that. And then how do you allow yourself to, 1, be complimented, and 2, give grace to yourself?
I think that was for you, Chris.
That's for me. All right. First of all, if you receive a compliment, just say thanks and move on.
Yeah.
Like, appreciate it. Okay. And even if you don't believe it, that's still their perspective and they're being kind. Say thank you. It's that gift that they were talking about, right?
Yeah.
I learned that years ago. If somebody pays a compliment, thanks. That's all that's needed. Accept the gift and move on, and try to internalize it without letting it go to your head. Affirmations are a real thing. Vanessa could attest to that. In fact, when they were talking about affirmations, she poked me because
He's an affirmations guy.
I don't stand in front of the mirror and say like, I'm awesome, but I do have like a list of things on my desk, like, I'm loved, I'm loving, I'm grounded, I'm balanced. Like they're not things that you believe necessarily to start. They're things like, but you say them like you believe them, right? I am this. Even if you think you're not, maybe that's imposter syndrome. Maybe that goes along with that too. But I have these monitors on my desk, and I have these affirmations in the middle, and I had a piece of paper taped to my monitor that I would flip over, and it said on the back of it, like, if you read this, flip the paper over. So they flip it over, and it covers my monitor. So, in fact, I remember Vanessa, like,
Every
what
day.
the hell are you doing? She flips the paper over, and like, you're so weird. And then I'd say, okay, and then she'd say, why do we flip it over? And I would never tell anybody. I would just say, that's all. That they would leave. I would read my affirmations, flip the paper back over.
So I made you a better person.
Exactly. So when if somebody came in, it's just that reminder of like, I'm grounded, I'm balanced, I am loved, I am enough. And if you say those to yourself, your mind starts to believe it, and then you start to internalize it. It's really like my conscious mind talking to my subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind works on it, like digests it, like, okay, like I can start to believe this a little bit, and then it starts pushing nudges back to your conscious mind.
That's great. Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap up, but I do want to quickly end with one thought. I have a ton more thoughts. I'm sure you guys have even more questions. I encourage you, part of tonight, we'll have more time to connect. So if you have more questions for these guys, feel free to like snag them or even ask some of your friends and peers here, like, hey, what did you think about this? But really quick, I think one thing, and if this is too out of the realm of whatever, let me know. But I'm curious, I feel like great leaders always are readers. So do you have one book that you love and you could suggest real fast, rapid fire?
Good to great.
Good to great.
Good to great. Jim Collins.
Jim Collins, good to great. Two
Yeah.
for good to great.
I would agree.
Three
He made
for
me
good to
read
great.
it.
He did. Yeah, there you go. Kristen, do you have a book you love?
I can't see the words because it has a bad word. Like, have you read Unf Yourself?
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
good.
Okay,
So
there
good.
you go.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I literally just finished Good to Great this last year. I love that book. So, and I've never read Unf Yourself. I haven't read Go F Yourself either. But if there is that book, you probably shouldn't read that one. But maybe the other one.
I'm trying really hard not to say the F word, guys. Okay?
I'm so proud of you. Way to go. Awesome. Well, can we give a huge round of applause to our wonderful panel? Thank you guys so much.